Hello. Hello, everyone. It is so great to have you all here. Welcome to our joint EAG and Community Advisory Group meeting of the IVR, our last for this year. Let's get our slides going. Well, my name is Dr. Roberta Suzette Hunt, and I am a facilitator for the Equity Advisory Group. And I will pass to my colleagues to introduce themselves from our community, our co-chairs of the Community Advisory Group. Ed Washington.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you all.
Great. And Lynn.
Hello. Really excited to see you all. Thank you so much. And thank you, Roberta.
Yes.
I think we'll switch back as soon as the slides get up. We'll go back and review the closed captioning and public information. But thank you. And just thrilled to be with everyone.
It's a really big deal. This is a seriously committed group of people that have been together in different iterations for 4 years. So an enormous thank you and appreciation for all of you.
So who's putting the slides up? Maybe we all think somebody else is doing it. Robert, are you doing the slides or is that somebody else? Ah, magic.
Here they go. Awesome. All right, next slide. Now we're cooking with gas. All right. Closed captions are in English and Spanish. English closed captions are available within Zoom and YouTube. Users can follow this link to view both English and Spanish captions in a separate browser window, ibr.news/captions. Next slide. How to access closed captions. At the bottom middle of your screen, you should see a menu of options. If you can't see the menu, hover your mouse over the bottom middle of the screen. Next, click the square CC icon towards the right side of the menu to toggle captions on. Click the submenu arrow to access more settings, including language, font color, and font size. Next slide. ASL interpretation. There is an ASL interpreter in addition to closed captioning. To make sure the interpreter is always visible, please click their video and select Spotlight Video. For those watching on YouTube, when we screen share, you will be able to see the slideshow, closed captioning, and the ASL interpreter. You will still be able to hear different people speaking, but may not see them. Next slide. Meeting participation tips. We're so glad you're here. Please join audio by either phone or computer, not both. We encourage panelists to turn on your video. It's because we love your faces. Please keep your audio on mute when not speaking. If you experience technical difficulties, please contact program staff at 971-421-3849. So our advisory group meeting space, put relationships first, keep focused on our common goal, notice power dynamics in the room, create a space for multiple truths and norms, be kind and brave, and look for learning. Next slide. Public input. So there will be an opportunity to provide brief public input later in the meeting around 5:40 p.m. Verbal public comment will be welcome in the Zoom webinar during the designated time with the option to turn on your web camera. Please use the link located in the meeting description on the YouTube meeting page or on the IBR CAG plus EAG meeting webpage. Commentators will not be allowed to share their screens and will be removed from the room once the public comment period concludes. To comment by phone, dial 1-669-900-6833 or 1-408-638-0968. Enter meeting ID 897-7533-8358, passcode 701942. Dial *9 to raise your hand. After you are invited to speak, dial *6 to unmute yourself. So our agenda for today, we're in our welcome. We'll go to program updates, then community and small business outreach, advisory group feedback, open discussion, public comment around 5:40, wrap up, and gratitude. Next slide. Next slide. All right, so we're going to pass to Greg Johnson, our program administrator, and Carly Francis, our incoming interim program administrator.
Thank you, Dr. Hunt, and good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to be here. I will give a quick update, and in the end, I'll make some remarks about my gratitude towards this group of folks where this program would not be where it's at without the talent, the dedication, and the perseverance of folks who have joined us in these advisory groups. So let's go to the next slide, please. So this team continues to tick off key milestones. The biological opinion was granted to us, and this may seem like something minor, but this is the foundational piece for future permits that we will need to help get this bridge built that will tell us the impacts or the mitigations that we have to do for species in this ecosystem here on the Columbia and related areas. So that was a huge step in the program's process and progress. So we also submitted a updated navigational impact report to the Coast Guard, and that was done in early October. And at that time, the federal government actually had shut down for the longest shutdown in federal government history. So our navigational impact report sat waiting for the civilian folks at the Coast Guard to come and start the review. They have started that review, and they have also opened up their public comment period for this navigational impact report. And the importance of this is going to tell us what type of bridge that the Coast Guard will permit us to build over the Columbia River. So what's coming up next is in early to mid 2026, we will have, the Coast Guard granting us that preliminary navigational clearance determination, and that will tell us fixed or movable span bridge. That's a huge pivot point, and you'll hear more about that as we talk about project estimates. We also in early 2026, expect to be complete with the final supplemental environmental impact statement. And we hope to have signatures of our key partners on that document. And once we get that, that will lead to that amended record of decision from our federal partners that we hope will be done before the first half of 2026 is done. So with that, that will lead us to our Bridge Investment Program grant obligation. We have a deadline of the end of September of 2026 where we have to obligate construction funds. So the team is diligently working on that and working with our federal partners to make sure we don't miss a step in that process. And then we will be looking at bringing on a construction contractor for the bridge replacement and the final design of the bridge sometime in 2026. So a lot of key milestones that remain for us to hit, but we are seeing the fruits of our work, the fruits of the work that these advisory groups have done to help move this thing forward. So let's go to the next slide, please. So this team continues to be active in the communities, took ideas from the advisory groups of places where we should be and events where we can show up that will help the community be informed of what's going on with the program and how they can stay involved. So you see this, we did a program area tour with City of Portland, city councilors in September. We had the Latino Youth Leadership Conference. Those are days where we worked with labor to start encouraging young folks to look into the trades and look at what potential careers could come out of a project like this. We continue to meet with the Freight Advisory Committee to keep them up to date on what's going on with the program. All of these things we do locally, also regionally and nationally. That Engineering News Record Seattle Infrastructure Forum on October 20th had a very large national audience, and we had an opportunity to present where we were at with IBR in front of a number of contractors, consultants, and other stakeholders. So that was tremendously fruitful with a lot of good questions. So as you can see, the team is staying busy and making sure we are not going quiet as we are moving through some of the other technical parts of the program. So let's go to the next slide, please. So one of the larger events we were at was the Pacific Northwest Construction Expo. This was held on Hayden Island, or not Hayden Island, but at the Expo Center in Portland. And it was co-hosted by Association of General Contractors of Oregon, AGC, the Columbia chapter, and the National Association of Minority Contractors, the Oregon chapter. So it was very well attended. We did presentations, we had a booth, and answered a number of questions of folks who want to be involved with the program as we move forward. And we talked to them about opportunities, how they can be involved in the upcoming procurements. So very, very productive day. So let's go to the next slide, please. So bridge configuration, this is the issue that we are working with the Coast Guard on. As I said, we submitted that updated navigational impact report where with that, we submitted agreements from some of the impacted river users. So this decision that the Coast Guard has to make is expected early in 2026, and they will tell us whether a fixed span at 116 feet or a movable span will be permitted through their agency. So if a movable span is selected, once again, that has impacts on the construction timeline as well as a large impact on the estimated cost. And you'll hear more about that later from Carly Francis. So next slide, please. So the river user agreements, we have been negotiating with folks who need to move things on the river under this bridge that required more than 116 feet. This was not the first time that these river users were approached. It was done under the Columbia River crossing as well, and they reached agreements. So once again, we have reached agreement with these folks, and we are submitting that data to the Coast Guard to say we have met anyone who has a need for more than 116 feet and mitigated that need. So though there were 4 river users identified as potentially impacted, and all of those folks now we have agreements with. So once again, this was part of the navigational impact report process, and one of the hurdles that the Coast Guard needed us to clear so they can give us their determination. So next slide, please. So I'm going to turn this over to my cohort and my replacement on an interim basis, Ms. Carly Francis. And for those who don't know Carly, Carly has been around this project for a lot of years, so she understands it. She recently served as the regional administrator for WashDOT in Southwest Washington, so she has a good knowledge of this area. She lives in Portland, so Carly is going to be a great stepping stone for the next final administrator that gets hired to run the program. So with that, Carly, I'll turn this slide over to you.
Oh, thank you, Greg. And I know that we're going to hear more from you to maybe pontificate a little bit on your perspectives. I would also just note as we're doing this passing of the baton, I know I've expressed this in other places, but here in front of this audience, I just want to express the State Departments of Transportation's appreciation for your service and for coming out from Michigan and joining this program and learning so much that maybe you didn't know you could appreciate ever about the Pacific Northwest and how we do business. And so just really greatly appreciate your leadership here and the kind, warm welcome and the opportunity to sit with you with Southwest Washington Partners as the program has been in its resurgence phase and getting back to a point where we're finally have money in the bank to work with, and also are on the precipice of getting that federal approval to advance forward. So just really want to express my appreciation.
Thank you, Carly.
Yeah. Because it's nice to spend a little time talking about appreciation before you talk about cost estimates. So I would just note that on Monday, we shared with the Bi-State Legislative Advisory Committee that we did not have cost estimates yet ready to share out. The team has been hard at work on that activity and the process. Cost estimating is really an iterative process that you build up in very small chunks, both of what is the cost of this particular widget and how many do you need? And then also what does it take to bring those widgets into a body of work that builds a bridge and does all of these other activities. And then as you look at that as a team, you start to review and try to understand, does this really represent our best understanding of today and how we think the future may unfold? That is certainly both science and art, and maybe a little bit of wizardry. So recognizing that the team has been working internally to sort of review and validate those inputs. And so that's a significant portion of the work the team has been working on. And as Greg identified also that this decision from the Coast Guard is financially material and also material to the schedule of how we would advance work forward. So especially recognizing that we anticipate a decision from the Coast Guard really in the middle of January, it feels imperative to sync up the work of the team with that decision out and figuring out how to marry those pieces together, because what's so important here is to begin the work with the end in mind. And so that's really what we start to try to work to match up and to think about program sequencing and how we bring things forward if it's fixed, if it's movable, and we just need some additional time to provide a complete and accurate cost estimate. Next slide. No surprise to everybody at home with going to the grocery store and doing other things in your lives. We've certainly seen significant increases in costs in our lives, and we also see that in the construction industry. We are following those trends and trying to figure out exactly how they relate to material costs and also some of those risks over time. That's the other component of this cost estimating process is we figure out what we think the cost for something is, and then also how likely it is to stay at that cost over time. And think about if it doesn't stay at that cost, what's that variability and how likely is it to come forward? So these industry trends are really important to understand in how we are modeling that body of work. So we are watching those industry trends closely. We're watching how other transportation projects across the country are addressing those challenges and seeking to address increased costs. One tool I know that Greg was mentioning that we are looking to start work with a contractor next year and get that activity under, on paper and active. Using the progressive design build delivery method creates a relationship between the departments of transportation, the folks who are delivering this program on behalf of taxpayers, with those folks who actually do the work and have the materials to all the tools and equipment to do that work. That creates an earlier conversation there is both an increased competition activity that happens under progressive design build, but also a dynamic dialogue as design is being finalized that can help find efficiencies and look for innovation and apply that innovation. So it is the sort of the best tool that we have to being as cost effective as possible on a program that is the largest we've seen in the region basically for forever. So we are starting to work that angle. And then also, as I noted previously, the work that we are starting to activate and have ready once we know the Coast Guard decision is really starting to think about how do we begin with the end in mind and figure out the best pathway to start construction within funding that's available and understand how that fits within the commitment between the states to deliver the overall program over time, because that remains our commitment. I think that's the end of the slides. And then maybe Greg wants to pop back on and wax poetic. Oh my gosh, I forgot about this slide. My apologies. So one more slide here, just to note that so I was talking through these different components of the estimate. We will be releasing information that has these components to it. So you will see what those base costs are. That is again, like what's the cost of the widget and how many do we need, that kind of component, as well as who delivers the work and the cost to deliver that work. That risk component is what is the variability in those costs that we think is possible and how likely is that to occur. That's where that modeling really comes in. And then also escalating those costs out to when they could be accomplished across a construction schedule. And that, the time scale for this, there's an optimal time schedule, and then there's maybe needing to accomplish it over more time. So recognizing how that time schedule plays into the cost estimate. So basically just sort of 3 categories you can expect to see cost estimating information come forward at such time as we are bringing that forward with the public. Now I think that's the last slide. No, it's not. My apologies.
Do you want this one, Carly?
Oh, I got this one. This is fine. This is still mine. Sorry. So we do have the work to complete the updated cost estimate after receiving key decisions. So that is the Coast Guard decision. As I noted, working to update construction sequencing and the funding strategy to advance the first set of investments towards delivering the full program that is consistent with the federal environmental review process. And then the other piece is as we are looking to begin work on progressive design build for the river crossing, to really transition the organization here from the environmental and planning phase towards the delivery and construction phase. So that means some shifts in how we are organized and how we apply resources so that we can manage that work effectively. Finally, that was the last slide. My apologies for forgetting which slides were coming next.
Great. Now we'll pass to Hannah Williams to talk about community outreach and small business support.
Thanks, Roberta. Hello, CAG and EAG. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Hannah Williams, and I'm on the public affairs team for IBR. And as you know, like Greg said, outreach is big on our program. We are out and about in the community all the time through briefings and events. Over the last 4 years, every time we come to you in the program update, there's a slide and Greg goes over our recent activities. It's always my favorite part. I don't know about you. But today I'm going to focus, as it's kind of the end of the year and our last meeting together, I'm going to focus in specifically about tabling. So these are the events that we go to. It's a short window, and it is May to October. And this is really kind of our bread and butter for getting out there in the community. It is a short season, but it is a great opportunity to be able to plug into what is going on in Washington and Oregon. And a lot of these events might look familiar to you because you have helped us shape where we go. We get a lot of good advice. You point us in the right direction. You help shape our list. So thank you. Thank you for that. I'm not going to go over every single one here, but I kind of want to point out that we have been to 19 events, May to October. And we try to make it as even as possible in Oregon and Washington. And we try to, really represent different communities and interests where we go. So across the board, going to resource fairs, farmers markets, pride festivals, different community festivals, bike walk activities. So we really try to do a bunch of different activities to hear from different communities and interests. And what you can't see here on the slide is that this work is represented by our staff on IBR. They go out and they dedicate their summer, and they spend the summer out tabling, rain or shine, heat, wind, mud, cold. So I really want to say thank you to the staff for their dedication to get out there and go to all of these different events. The numbers that you see in the parentheses, those are how many people, the staff that's at the table. It's usually 1 or 2 people. We try to have 2 people, but sometimes it's just 1 person. That's who they're engaging with. So an engagement can look like a conversation. It could be handing out a flyer. It could be answering questions. It could be helping someone navigate the website. It could be signing someone up for an office hours. Has a lot of different looks. And they can be in different languages. So it's a lot of work that goes on here. And the reason that we're spending some time here this evening to talk about tabling is because it's really one-on-one conversations, which, as you know, make a really big difference when you're trying to make connections, answer questions, and really kind of understand needs, concerns, interests. So overall, we went to 19 events this year for tabling. This is just tabling events. And we totaled it up, and it looks like it's 1,396 people that we reached. So this is community engagement. And the types of things that we heard, it's a lot of the same things that we're hearing in these spaces here, which makes sense because you are our connection to the community. So it's good that we have that overlap. We're hearing a lot around construction, a lot of interest in knowing about funding, bridge design, a lot of interest in knowing about walking and biking considerations, and transit, light rail, and of course tolling and schedule. So in addition to community engagement tabling, we also have done a tremendous amount of workforce and small business tabling. And this here is a little different from the community engagement tabling. This type of tabling, it's really focusing on engaging students and individuals that are looking for jobs, small businesses. These types of tabling events could happen at job fairs, community expos, and at different networking events. And you can see, our Dozer Days was huge, multiple day event, and that was over 500 people that we connected with. So these are really important spaces, and they couldn't happen without our staff that is dedicating a lot of their weekends to go out and talk to people because they know that it's really important. So I just wanted to take a little time to show you where we were this year, mid-October, for tabling, and say thank you to staff, say thank you to you, because believe it or not, we're getting ready to put together the list for 2026. So we'll start shaping that list, and if you have ideas of where we should go, maybe places we haven't been yet, or if you're hearing anything, I just wanted to give an open invitation. I know we're not meeting, but would love to get an email from you, or feel free to give me a call, and could keep getting that input. That would be really, really helpful. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, couldn't find my unmute. And now passing to the advisory group feedback. And Lisa and Megan, please take us away. And Fabiola, take us away. You've done so much leading us, so bring it.
Thank you, Dr. Hunt. What we're hoping to do today is provide feedback from you, reflected in terms of themes and best practices and what we've learned over the last several years. I remember with Janelle and Ed and Lynn and Greg looking through the applications that came in for both the EAG and the CAG Thanksgiving, Christmas time, 2020. And so for us to be in this moment of reflection and really thinking about what we have done over the last, I'm going to say 5 years together, and the impact, it's just really astounding. And so what I would like to do today is really just spend some time talking a bit about what we set out to do in both of these advisory groups, and be able to provide to you a bit of the assessment and analysis for the work that's been done with the community advisory group, the equity advisory group, and then the third group that we did look at was the community benefits advisory group. Today, we're going to focus on the feedback from those first two groups, CAG and EAG. And then we're really going to share with you a reflection of what we heard through our outreach to you, and then what we saw happening out in the region and even nationally with advisory groups. The work that we're doing to reflect this feedback is anticipated to provide us a bit of a roadmap for what's next. So this program has been committed to community engagement We have had just incredible participation by our community leaders in these spaces, and we want to ensure that as we move into this next phase, as we're moving rapidly towards delivery of this program, that we're ensuring we're answering two central questions. What input from the community does the program need? What problem is the group being asked to help solve, as we consider, as an advisory group, the right mechanism for us as a program as we get into the record of decision, construction, and delivery. So with that, we'll go to the next slide, and I'm really pleased to have both Megan and Fabiola share a bit of this presentation and reflection. This slide just gives you a bit of an overview in terms of both the qualitative and the quantitative research that we conducted, and the process in which we really tried to solicit input. Many of you heard from us often asking if you'd like to be able to share your feedback directly over the phone, via email, or through a survey. We also conducted a pretty significant amount of listening within the program so that we could hear what our leadership teams, all the way from task leads, maybe leading design, all the way through our executive leadership team. We then spent time looking at best practices. What are we seeing other programs of this size, complexity? What are they doing to engage community, particularly as there's the transition from the environmental phase into the delivery phase? And what have we learned as to what's worked well here in this space, and maybe what improvements or changes can be made as we consider what our next engagement strategy might be with our community, particularly as we consider an advisory group. So this is a little bit about really what our process entailed, and Megan's going to talk a bit about our methodology and the results. Megan?
Great, thank you, Lisa. Go to the next slide, please. All right, so you already saw a little bit of a high-level overview of what our outreach assessment methodologies look like, but this is really getting into a bit more granular, just the sheer volume of what Lisa and I have been doing over the summer. So in order for the evaluation to be both holistic and effective, we felt it was really important to ensure it involved all interested and affected parties that have been involved with this advisory group work. So we conducted interviews, surveys, direct outreach, and workshops, both with active members, co-chairs, other facilitators, as well as the design team, task leads, equity council, and executive leadership. A lot of conversations, a lot of data collection. We also reviewed meeting attendance year over year, so looking at data of participation in the meetings across the advisory groups. And then, as Lisa started noting, we also wanted to corroborate what we were hearing from our own program with best practices across programs in our nation. So identifying some research opportunities for advisory groups for other local and national projects pre and post ROD. Okay, go to the next slide, please. All right, so as I noted, we did an assessment of meeting attendance data year over year. So a lot of rosters and notes for different meetings. With that, we found for meeting attendance, there was a steady decline year over year in both CAG and EAG, with the exception of this year for EAG. We did actually see a bit of an uptick in the attendance rate for EAG in 2025, which is great to see. The advisory group's attendance rate was pretty comparable across the board. There wasn't a big outlier across one of the advisory groups versus the other. And there wasn't a big difference between appointed members versus at-large members. As far as drop rates, there was a pretty significant increase in drop rate in 2023 for both CAG and EAG, where they both saw 11 members each drop. There was a significantly lower average drop rate in CVAG, which was a shorter timeline of how long that advisory group was stood up. Though if you looked at the members who were participating in more than one advisory group, so CAG and CVAG, had significantly higher drop rates. For new member recruitment, we did see that overall member numbers did shrink over time. The recruitment and onboarding of new members was not keeping up with the rate of members dropping. Next slide. Now, looking specifically at the data collected from advisory group members, so just the members themselves, we wanted to test a bit about sentiment of their participation. So across the board, you can see on average, the sentiment was fairly high. On average, majority of the responses here were in the 4s. So looking at a survey rank of 1 out of 5, with 1 being a strongly disagree versus a 5 being a strongly agree. For the most part, we saw an agree across majority of these statements. The handful of areas where we had the most opportunity for improvement came with the I felt informed about how my feedback would be used, my participation influenced decisions or shaped program direction, and the group provided meaningful input to the IBR program. Go to the next slide. Now, if we look at the data themes across all of those different audience members through all those different mediums, we collected and then synthesized that information into very high-level themes around our strengths, barriers, and challenges, as well as our opportunities for improvement. So across all 3 of the advisory groups, we found some strengths in that the advisory groups added legitimacy and transparency, and also offered a two-way communication mechanism with the community. Members were able to build valuable relationships and advocacy networks, both within the advisory group forum as well as external through the participation as an advisory group member. It was also identified that with CBAG being time-bound and having clearly scoped objectives, that it allowed for more actionable results and engagement. For some barriers and challenges, it was found that some members found it difficult to provide impactful input because there was limited decision-making authority and program uncertainties around things like budget, approval, and timelines. There was some difficulty in sustaining long-term engagement and energy as well, with some agendas being a bit more technical and it being a multi-year process. Some of the opportunities for improvement that were found is that there could be a higher clarity around the group role, purpose, and scope of influence. Stronger feedback loops showing how input was used and can be used moving forward. There's desire for meetings to be a bit more interactive, member-driven, and engaging. And then there is also opportunity for improvement around meeting cadence. So adjusting the meeting cadence and duration to balance both depth of engagement with a manageable time commitment. I'll pass it back to Lisa.
Another element of the work that we did was focusing on the accomplishments. So what did we set out to do? Did we accomplish what was in our charter? So the next slide is a lot of words, and I'm not going to go through each of these because many of you have been here through the very beginning. We looked at the year-over-year accomplishments of the Community Advisory Group, Equity Advisory Group, and Community Benefits Advisory Group. So I'll just share the KEG year-over-year accomplishments. I think one of the most significant kind of occurred in 2021, which was coming together to work with the program on the purpose and need, adjusting and being agile to develop the Community Advisory Group's community vision and value statement. We utilize that community vision and value statement as a lens in the work that we did throughout the last several years. So you often saw us pull that community vision and value statement up as we were thinking about the key elements of what materials, what design aspects, what goals that the program was considering, or the ways in which the program was engaging community to seek the input of the Community Advisory Group. A few elements that I think are probably important to also mention. We did find success early on in 2021 and 2022 with really activating the community working group. Some of you that are still on the Community Advisory Group may recall you did participate in a topic-specific community working group. So we had 4 of those, one dedicated to Hayden Island, downtown Vancouver, multimodal transportation, and transit. What we are finding is that was not only effective, but also a best practice in the research that we've done across the country. The community advisory group provided input on a lot of different areas. There were many, many members of the technical team that presented and sought input of the community advisory group over the last 5 years. Anything from the health impact report and data to updates on the toll scenarios, program workforce development studies, community benefits, a Section 106 consultation. So we have a lot of opportunities to be proud of the work that has come through the community advisory group. And there's been a really large volume of significant topics that the advisory group has either been presented and or engaged with, seeking your feedback and your community's feedback on the work the program is moving forward. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Fabiola to speak to the EAG accomplishments.
Right. Thank you, Lisa. I will just say that a lot of the work that we've done, especially in the last 2 years or so, has been very closely coordinated with the community advisory group. So a lot of what Lisa just shared is also reflective of the work that the EAG has done, again, especially in the last 2 years or so. But I will name that early on, from 2021 to about 2023, 2024, the EAG did a lot of work to help ground the program in community-centered planning and ways that the program can practice accountability to community needs and priorities. So early conversations clarified shared principles and surfaced some key concerns, especially around topics like displacement, transparency, how the project stays responsible to community impacts. And then over time, the group has moved forward by shaping how community priorities show up in planning tools and strengthening expectations for measurable progress, and deepening the program's understanding of cultural preservation with some of the conversations that we've had with the cultural resources team. And now, as we continue to think about how issues of fair access look in the next phase, just really feeling really grateful for the work early on that has set the foundation for how the program can stay aligned long term to some of these priorities. So thank you for that.
The last slide that we wanted to share was a map of the research around the projects that we looked at. So we have a really expert team that shows up every day, and they have experience working on other programs. So we asked in our outreach internally within the program team, what other projects have you worked on? How has our community been engaged in providing input? What role has an advisory group played on large, complicated projects across the nation that maybe you have also participated in? And what we heard was there were 19 projects that were identified and 28 advisory groups that were a part of those 19 projects. We, in particular, looked at projects that were by state to understand the nuances. So when we speak about the size of the community advisory group or the equity advisory group, what we know is best practices for advisory groups are about 10 to 15 people. But these two advisory groups each stood up at almost 20 to 30. Well, part of that is because of the bi-state nature of this program. So we wanted to look at how are other bi-state programs operating? How have they built something? So beyond the environmental phase, what does a phase of construction look like? How can community voice be heard within an advisory group structure for these projects? What's worked well and what hasn't worked well? And here are a few things that we learned. So we, in particular, learned that most of these projects that became kind of examples for us really were clear about meeting cadence, meeting makeup. There were opportunities for small topic-specific groups that were stood up targeted, time-limited focused groups that often mirrored the construction phase practice. What we also saw was when asking community to serve, there was clarity as to terms and term limits. We heard in some of the feedback from our advisory group members, some of you may own some of these statements. 5 years is a real long time to serve on a program. And so the ability to be able to say, I can say yes to 2, or I can say yes to 2 with a 2-year, renewable term, just a little bit more structure around the term limits was pretty consistent with these larger projects and other projects. We also saw that similar to the way in which we stood up both CAG and EAG, there was a real attention to the diversity of the voices sitting at the table, ensuring that we had voices that had not typically served on large projects or complicated projects, and that were really reflective of the community in which this mega program, mega project was operating within. So that recruitment process was really key, as was the facilitation and the opportunity for access to the program to be able to understand and to provide meaningful input. We were asked by our technical team if delivery method made a difference in how any of these advisory groups were stood up. We didn't find that delivery method, meaning is it design build, design bid build, progressive design build, that did not seem to play a role in which project had what kind of advisory group. We just saw a pretty consistent advisory group as a reflection of a community engagement strategy on some of these larger, particular by state projects. Megan, I'm going to pause for a moment and just see if there was any other insights you might want to share regarding the research before I turn it back over to Roberta.
I think that you did a pretty good overview. It was a lot of information to parse through, but appreciate those who made recommendations of where to look, because this list could have gone on and on. But yes, I think that it was helpful to identify lessons learned of things that we were already doing well based off of other project best practices, and opportunities for us to continue to refine, and seeing that match up very well with the feedback that we received through all of the engagement we did. So appreciate everybody that participated and was able to share that insight. And again, thank you, Lisa, for giving that overview of the projects we researched.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Megan.
So I want to pass to Lynn to facilitate our discussion.
Oh, thank you. And I was going to ask to take the slides down, and I thought that might be awkward, but let me see how many people are off screen that I can't see. A few. Well, I just want to give a shout out to all of those. How many of us on the call have been there since the beginning? Roberta, Dina, Jana, Arena, Sam, Michaela, Ed, and myself. Did I forget anybody? Did anybody not give a shout out?
Aiden and Martha.
Oh, Martha. Thank you. Some people had it fly up. I'm on 2 screens. Aiden.
John Gardner. I don't know if John Rose raised their hand, but they
Pat,
have.
Daniel.
Meg has. And Sabrina.
Where's Vicky?
And Nikki came on a little bit later.
Vicky Nakashima.
Yes. Vicky Nakashima. Yeah, Vicky's been here. Vicky's been on all the committees.
I know. That's why I was like, where's Vicky?
Thank you. So this is kind of our chance to take a lap. So I also, in the spirit of kind of giving that each of you have contributed, it behooves us to extract as much information as we can from you. And so this is kind of our last ask or our last known formal ask. You may get other asks, but this is where we're going to work to get information from you with regard to 2 questions. So if I could get the slides back up, we have 2 questions that we would like to ask you. And we want to ask you what your key takeaways were, and then recommendations to guide the program's ongoing commitment. So as we previously discussed, we started out as 2, and then CBAG also a third, different community advisory groups. For this last year, we've been a joint community advisory group and equity advisory group. And this is our last official meeting. We will then stand down. It may be that at a future time, the program stands up some form of a community advisory group. So from all of us who have given blood, sweat, and tears and emotional and time and caring, it's important that we capture this from you. So the key takeaways, we heard from our colleagues some of the key accomplishments over the last 5 years, and that was really helpful to kind of ground this discussion. So what were the key takeaways, and then recommendations for meaningful community engagement going forward? So everyone has the slide deck. It would be valuable, I think, for all of us to be able to see each other as we speak to those 2 questions. So if I just want to ask for volunteers, my hope is that each member of the advisory group kind of at least gives us a sound bite with regard to these 2 questions. So happy to take a volunteer. Sam, step right up.
Hey, you bet. Yeah, that way, no, I don't have to say, oh, somebody else said that, so now I can't say it. Okay, so first of all, I want to just thank Mr. Greg Johnson for his contribution and getting us further than ever before. So thank you, Greg. Great job. Whoa, we'll miss you. Yeah, I will miss you. Okay. And I want to say welcome to Ms. Carly Francis. You're going to jump into where the rubber meets the road here, literally. So incredibly courageous person you are. So thank you for that. Key takeaway for me is, as I always said, let's just get this thing built, right? I'd rather get a bridge of any kind than no bridge at all. All right, because this is our second try, and I don't want a third try. And so I think we're really close. Mr. Johnson is, they almost got us to the finish line, and Carly will take us there, and her replacement or she will get us over the finish line. That's great. So yeah, that's my key takeaway, is that we've done everything possible to get us really close here. Recommendation, I'm not sure what recommendation I have. If I could nitpick, I never really knew what Community Benefits Advisory Group did, and why was it so late? Why wasn't it formed in the beginning, like with the CAG, with the EAG? Why wasn't CBAG? I don't know if that's how you say it. Community Benefit Advisory Group formed initially, and why was it? It seemed like more of an afterthought. And I would have loved to join, except that it was in-person meeting, and we're all born out of COVID here, where we all remote. But that's just a little nitpicky thing. I'm really incredibly proud to have been a member of this group, as all of us should be. We're solving some real problems, and these are not easy questions we need to answer. And I thought everybody, especially the staff members, answered the questions with grace and dignity. So no matter what you read in the paper, you've done good. Thank you.
And Sam, thank you. Sam is the author of a very pithy quote that we use often, which is, the best bridge is the bridge that gets built. And so thank you, Sam. Many contributions, but that one kind of stands head and shoulders. Dina?
Yeah, so representing the river users and navigation and multimodal freight users, it's been interesting learning about, I think the thing that I kind of take away from this the most is just learning about all of the different perspectives of the users of the bridge, whether you're somebody from Hayden Island, or you're somebody who likes to bike to work, or you're somebody who just is really, interested in ensuring that there's a story being told about the peoples that have lived here, and that there's, some connectivity to this bridge as a place and not just a bridge. And so I think it was just really fascinating to learn the different perspectives and the different ways that different groups use the bridge. And also to be here to remind folks that there's a whole bunch of commerce that happens under the bridge, and ensuring that continues to go forward. I think, some of the things that over time, like, some nitpicky things like Sam mentioned, I think we got some like red, green, and yellow cards in the beginning, and I don't think we ever ended up using them. And so I don't remember what they were even for, but, I think having sort of a consistent process, I really think we kind of did have to, having gone through COVID, as Sam mentioned, have to kind of learn along the way and make a lot of adjustments. And I really liked how you incorporated both the hybrid version of doing a lot of meetings virtually, but then having opportunities to do things in person, to go on tours, to see things, firsthand. So, and to get to know the other advisory group members as well. So that, I think, are the things that I take away from it, and would advise, any group like this going forward to continue to have as wide array of opportunities for people to engage as possible. So thank you.
Thank you. I don't see volunteers, so should I start asking people?
Pat Daniels.
Yeah, I said, oh, did I take my mic off?
You're not in it didn't jump into my screen, so I'm not sure if it was my user error, but please, Pat.
Okay, so now can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I want to ditto everything that the person just said. For me, this was so educational. I have a pre-apprenticeship training program, but I've never been on a bridge project. And I think that actually I want to congratulate everyone that I learned so much just being in the presence of looking at this process. The other thing is that I can't tell you the appreciation for how you all brought the community in. And when you talk about those community advisory meetings, I feel like this is going to be something extraordinary, that this is the first time ever that the community have been involved in something that's going to be so huge for the state. And we addressed every issue. That was what I'm just really impressed about. And again, some of my friends are here and I've learned so much from them too. So again, I just thought it was amazing that you brought together so many different companies and people to think about the holistic approach. That was huge. So this was never going to be an easy process, but I have to commend you guys on the work. Yes, it was some time, but I learned so much just being there.
Thank you.
And appreciate them coming to talk to the staff.
Julie, sounds like you have, and then Soko.
Yeah, and I would have my video on. I'm so sorry. I'm in a very dark car right now. But otherwise I would have my video on. I apologize. I really similar to what some of the previous speakers have said, the in-person opportunities were really wonderful. I went on the bridge tour, which was absolutely wonderful. Like, I feel like I learned so much in that process, learning about, what the current bridge was doing. And then thinking that was really helpful in thinking about, for the future, what would some of the considerations be, some of the functionality of it. And as far as getting future feedback, I've had really good experiences with short surveys. So not the really long ones, but the short ones where, it's very accessible. You don't have to fill it out in the moment. You can think about an idea and then reply later. So as long as they're not 100 questions long, like some surveys are, I feel like that's a very accessible format to get feedback.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you for keeping us on even while you're in transit and probably wishing that bridge were already built, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Thank you. Soko?
I just wanted to send my appreciations to Dr. Hunt for her consistency in facilitating all of our groups and, being there to support us. And then also to Mr. Gregg too for his leadership. And, I've really appreciated the historical context that Greg has brought to each of the sessions, including the tour. And my recommendation for a future group is to continue to reflect on that history. It's a historical thing when we get this bridge done, but we were doing it in a way that we're uh, reflecting on the history of such big projects like this and including community voices in a way that I think reflects that commitment to community in a way that puts them for up front and forward.
Thank you. I'm Martha.
Yeah, I mean, I am 100% behind this project. I totally want it built ASAP, and there is almost nothing that can happen. Well, and I really, really want light rail included. And so there's almost nothing anyone can say that will change my mind on those points. But I do, and I don't know if it's that my individual community is different from others, but I certainly am feeling like there is a considerable opposition to some elements of this project, and I don't know how to address these, like people who are totally opposed to light rail, who are totally opposed to having only a 3-lane bridge. I mean, I can't even go into it without getting into the weeds, but I don't know how else you could have addressed some of these issues in a way that would bring everyone on board, because I know that there just are people who will always be naysayers. I get that, and I think you guys have done a really good job with trying, but I don't know that you have I just don't feel like you've brought everyone along. And I wish there was some way that I could tell you how this might have done better if you'd done this differently or that. I don't know the answer to that, but yeah, so that's my thought.
If I could jump in on that point, Martha, I feel you. The encouraging part, and I've gone to a number of our tabling events where we've been at fairs and festivals. I've done in the park bridge little thing with the mayor of Vancouver. And the funny part is when you talk to people, just regular run-of-the-mill everyday people randomly come to those type of events, probably 90% of them are saying, just get this bridge built. They are not saying, oh, take light rail off or do this. I feel that is a very vocal minority who is pushing the negative on this project. Most of the folks realize the need for it, but you're right. Some of those folks will never bring along. But we've been out in the community, and the community's voice is resoundingly get this thing done.
Thank you. Irina?
I really appreciate for me being chosen to participate in this project. I have learned a lot. Now I'm kind of like back in my background thinking that I can arrange CAGs for different projects that I'm using, thanks to you guys. And about our participation, we live in the complicated country, so probably impossible to bring 100% of people behind the project and behind kind of like one picture of the project. It's okay. I know people, and also we kind of like, when the project started in 21, we lived in one country. And now we notice that the public transportation has changed, the ridership is different, the TriMet is reducing the hours and reducing the routes. The country is changing, economy is changing, so it's difficult to lead the project through all these changes and thinking whatever vision we had in 21 is going to stay in 2026 exactly the same. The take point that I learned a lot was the view of the people who live on this, whatever the island between Portland and Vancouver, Hayden Island, because I was not aware that the population of Hayden Island is so diverse. And some of them are absolutely against whatever change to the bridge we are suggesting. It was also very valuable to have the lady who represented the trucking organization. So she gave kind of like lobbied for the interests of the truck drivers a lot. So that was valuable. And then I also remember the gentlemen who were representing the bicycle and kind of like pedestrian transportation across the bridge. So there was a lot of valid points in there about having unprotected or weather, that there is no roof, that people are not going to use the bridge during winter and all this kind of stuff. But then again, my thinking like, do I need the bridge with the roof? Or from the cost savings, I kind of like maybe give the people some kind of like interesting ride one stop on the bike across the bridge, that we do not need to build the bridge with the roof, something like that. So I was also very interested in the cost estimates, and we dismantled in the group before I actually saw any costs. So because my background is economics, and I did kind of like cost, I was a cost lead on so many different projects. So I was really interested in the number crunching, but it didn't happen. Fine. Without me, we'll see. And I was really happy to kind of like work in cooperation with so many different people. Thanks for the opportunity. And good luck to Greg and to everybody in 2026.
Thank you. And we did get a preliminary cost estimate, but we don't have the updated, but it will still be very public. So I know we'll all feel better with you having kind of a keen eye on that. Nikki?
Hi, yes. I wanted to first say that this group actually is really special to me because this was my very first large meeting in my new position at the city. It was my second week when I came to my first meeting. So that means a lot to me. I absolutely am grateful for the tour. Thank you so much, Greg. I think you did a great job of helping us to actually use our imaginations and bring it to life during the tour. And that was really special to me. So that would be another takeaway. And then my two recommendations would be first, maybe remember to use this as an opportunity to literally bring two sides together. Every opportunity that the language could be around building community, building our strength, building us together would definitely take away a lot of the negative comments that I hear about of one versus the other. And second, sometimes less is more. And I think I agree with community that says, just get it done. And maybe all the accoutrements and all the other parts can come later, but having the foundation and focusing there would be a great way to accomplish such a large task. Thank you.
So I'm sure to overlook someone. We have time for, Jarena, did you raise your hand and then disappear?
I'm here.
Okay, if you please.
I would like to, of course, follow everybody as saying thank you for the opportunity. I agree with so many that this was a great opportunity to learn from a number of different people from all different walks of life. And I think that the big takeaways that I have at this point are, first of all, that really most of the people that I have talked to really just, they want to see construction happen. That's when does construction start? That's the question I get asked the most. And then the other thing is that, you know, there are a lot of different perspectives that you guys are trying to work with, and I think you're doing an amazing job. So thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on to our next item, I just want to check Michaela, Zachary, Jana.
Sabrina has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Huh, it's not jumping into my upper left like everyone else. I apologize. Please.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Sabrina Owens Wilson, she, her pronouns. I'm the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Director at Metro and have been on the EAG since the beginning. I think that what I've really appreciated about this project is just how many new things you all have taken on and built from scratch, new processes, new committees, new frameworks, and just want to uplift the innovation that's happened in this project and express gratitude for you all, because there's risk associated with that. Just really appreciate how the project team has leaned into that. I continue to look forward to, some of these pieces continuing to take life, the community benefits, the conversations that we've had around workforce. I just think that there's tremendous opportunity for us to really capture the economic aspect for our communities that have often been left out. And so look forward to seeing those conversations continue. I know that's not a surprise to hear from me. And then I just want to appreciate everybody from the team, Greg, Dr. Hunt for being with us from the beginning. And I lost Janelle. He's somewhere in here. As a kind of equity focused leadership position, I just want to honor the unique space that he's occupied in this project. And I know the challenges and the pulls in different directions that come along with that. And so just wanted to really appreciate your leadership throughout this process.
Thank you. I've got Michaela next. Michaela and then Jana.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to jump on. I also am on my home. Honestly, just say thank you so much for the opportunity. Being the youngest member of CAG, I started at 23 and I've lived, I feel like, so many different lives throughout the time that I've been a part of the program. I started being someone who commuted from East Vancouver to Tigard every day. And that lasted, for 2 years. And then I started law school and started commuting to Salem every day. And I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to work with all of you, to be a part of this program. I've just always been such a keen person on community impact. And when I moved home after college, I was just looking for a way to find you know, a way to connect with my community again after being gone for 4 years. And this was just, it felt like a perfect place to be. And I've enjoyed every second of, you know, going on the tours and going to the IBR office and getting to meet everyone and Blazer games at the Moda Suite and all of those things. I've just been really grateful to be a part of it. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. We very much appreciated you as well. Jana and then Brenda.
Thank you. Well, I have been on this since the very beginning. I live and breathe this as president of the Oregon Trucking Association. And I think one of the things that would, one of the ideas that I would like to convey is that it would have been helpful at the beginning to define the program a little more clearly. Somehow, I felt like it took us a long time to talk about what it was we were trying to accomplish with this. And maybe it's just because I live and breathe this professionally, but that part of it was a little frustrating to me. But it was also very helpful to hear a variety of perspectives on this. We have to remember that, you know, what the purpose of this project is all about. We're trying to move people and goods across from one side of the river to the other. And it sometimes seemed like, you know, it was a wish list, you know, for representing a group of people that are going to pay for a large portion of this bridge, trying to be able to make sure that we created enough capacity on the bridge and that we created enough ability for our members to see improvement on that has been the reason that I've been sitting at the table. And I appreciate having had the opportunity to do that. But I do think it would have been helpful to have defined it up front a little bit more clearly what we were being asked to do. That would be my one constructive comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Brenda?
Hi, everybody. My name is Brenda Martin. I'm the Capital Project Manager for the City of Portland. I believe I might be the newest member. I did join about a year ago. I think I really appreciate having these groups as a steadfast group for the city, for the program, especially as the city has seen a lot of change over the last year. As you all know, we have a whole new government and new structure, and so I've appreciated having this group to really know that you were all active and involved in hearing the program and providing comments from community members and members with an equity focus to just check the program and make sure that we are bringing those aspects. I think the one thing on my mind, obviously, is we are really at a pivotal point in the program, and it feels like the timing is just slightly off to have this group sunset as we await this kind of cost estimate and decision from the Coast Guard. I feel like there might be some big decisions to make and priorities to discuss over the next few months. And so I probably would have loved for this team to stay together for a few more months. But I understand this was planned. So I guess my hope is that the program can re-engage another advisory group as quickly as they can, as we are kind of at this pivotal time prior to a record of decision and kind of the next big steps. So thank you all for your participation in this. I know I'm so impressed by how many of you have been on this group for 5 years. And I think as a representative of the City of Portland, I really thank you for your time on these committees.
Thank you. Zachary?
Awesome. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Zachary Lauritsen at Oregon Walks. I wasn't sure if we had additional time after this, and I looked at the slides and was like, oh, I don't know if we do, so I better just say something real quick. First, I just want to say thanks, Greg, for what you've done. You were like one of the first meetings I ever took when I took over at Oregon Walks, and you were so accommodating, and I've always been so appreciative of you talking about being an active transportation person and how integral that is to this project. And so I just want to say thanks and good luck, and thanks for hanging out with us up in northwest part of the states. I would echo, I think, one of the things Jana said about not being totally sure how our voices were being utilized and what that meant. I think that that's always a question for community committees, and it's hard to figure out what that means. And so, but I think it reflected in some of the scores from the survey was that one of the lower scores was about like, was our feedback taken into the project? And I think that's always a challenge between taking the community feedback from committees like this and implementing what is or is not available or possible. So, but I would echo Jana's kind of thought on that front. I had just a couple questions, I think, that are maybe just pertinent to like where we are that kind of mirrors what Brenda just said, which is there's some really big things that are happening in the coming months and years about prioritizing investments because we know the cost estimate is going to be a higher number than we have a budget for. And I would think that the community voice will be really important around how do we prioritize things that are going to be phased earlier versus phased later. And I hope that there is a space for folks that are at this table to be in that prioritization conversation, especially because there is a real deep well of information and experience and plugging in through these last many years. And so my question, I guess, is, and I don't think this is a space where I'm going to get an answer, but is like, what is going to be the process for prioritizing what stays in the project, what stays out, what gets built first, second, third, et cetera. So that would be one of my kind of big questions. And then with Greg's departure, I'm curious what the community voice is for Greg's replacement and how that person gets chosen. And do we have a voice in that? I don't know, but I think that that's probably something that a lot of us are really curious about because we've really appreciated Greg's leadership, and then who that person in matters to us. So that was a couple thoughts around questions that are important. And then I don't know if we have a space for some other just questions for the team, but if we do, I'd be happy to ask those too. Thanks so much, everybody.
Zachary, I would just jump in briefly and note that I don't have all the answers on how the cost estimates or decisions will get made, but I also would say the states remain committed to delivering the program. And so that it is the time is unclear because funding will be unclear at some components of that. But just to be very plain, that the program is defined as a multimodal program, and that is central to delivery of this. And so walkers and rollers and transit riders and highway users and trucks, that's all part of moving this program forward. So I just want to make sure that you hear that very plainly and clearly. And I think it's a good question and something I think we can flag for leaders within the DOT, the question of what community voice or how does community participate in selecting a replacement. And so I don't have an answer to that. It's not my process to control, but happy to carry that back.
Thank you for jumping on, Carly, and thank you, Zachary. I see we have 2 more questions. We are starting to bump up against time, but Jana and then Nikki, and then we'll likely need to move to public comment. But Jana, please.
Thank you. I'll be very quick. I neglected to thank Greg for all the work that he's put into it. I know that I've done that personally, but I'd like to do it publicly with this group as well. So I appreciate all that you've done. And I am looking forward to this project moving forward. But I think since we don't really understand the funding clearly, we don't understand the cost, we're not sure where all the money's coming from. What I would like to see us have some information on is how do we phase this project? What can we buy now and get started with? And then what would be next? And I think that would be helpful. And I don't recall, I may have missed a meeting or two if that happened, if that discussion has happened, but I'd like to see that happen at some time in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna. Nikki?
I'm speaking for Chandra Johnson from CTRAN. She's having tech issues and asked that I let everyone know that she really appreciated the ability to learn about the process of building a bridge like this. And thank you to all of you.
Oh, what a lovely way to wrap. Well, thank you. I think we've heard from almost everyone. Ed, I don't know, you didn't speak notably. Do you wish to comment? And you're welcome to, but you don't have to.
Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay. I just have a couple of things to say. First off is an appreciation to each and every one of you that have served on the committees at whatever juncture it was or whatever juncture it is now. And but listening to all of your comments, it just sort of reminded me some years ago, I can't remember how far back it was, there was a song, and the guy started out by saying cha-cha-cha-cha-cha changes. That was the name, I think that was the name of the song, but that's how he started out. And I think back to that song and I think of all the changes that has occurred at every level of government and community involvement, engagement that you can think of, and you're still here. And so I think, to me, I'm not discouraged because there are going to be changes and we've seen them and you just have to get through them. But I think the primary thing that you all, I've heard from you all, is that you're still committed. You're still committed. And so let's just keep on driving. I just, there has been so many changes and there'll be more before it's done. So just remember the song, Cha-Cha Changes, and we'll get over it. We'll get through it. Thank you so very much.
Well, thank you. And that's a fitting way for us to move into our next section. Lisa will be inviting public comment. I do just want to state that a couple of people had submitted public comments that were distributed to those of us that are members in advance, and just really thoughtful and improvement focused and forward looking and great insight. So thank you to those that took the time to submit written public comments in advance. Now I'll turn it over to Lisa.
Thank you, Lynn.
Lisa.
I want to just also maybe make another comment in terms of the feedback that you provided us. So one of the things that the program leadership is really interested in is hearing your feedback in addition to what we heard through the listening sessions and the surveys as the program develops the details for engagement. And so the input really allows the program to be able to get it right and to ensure as we transition into delivery that we have the right community engagement strategy in place. So appreciate everyone's feedback. We are listening, taking notes, and making sure that we can thread that into any recommendations moving forward. Public comment is a great time for us to welcome folks in the community that want to share any feedback directly with the community advisory group. While Dr. Hunt went through the comment instructions, I'm going to go ahead and review those again. It appears as though we have 2 members of our community that would like to address the advisory groups. And so I will make sure that I go through this in case there are others that are watching perhaps on YouTube that would also like to join the advisory groups today and provide comment. To make a live comment via phone, we ask that you dial 1-669-900-6833. The meeting ID is 897-7533-8358. The passcode to enter the meeting, 701942. Please dial *9 to raise your hand. I will call on participants to provide comments. Dial *6 to unmute yourself. Please provide your name and affiliation, and that we ask that you keep your comments to just a couple minutes, and we will bring up a clock so that it signals when your time is nearing the end of your ability to share with us your feedback. I also want to add that when we ask for folks to join us, we also ask that you pause or mute the YouTube recording. Sometimes we have the YouTube playing at the same time. We know there's a bit of a delay there. If you're unable to join us via phone or through our Zoom webinar, we would invite you to submit comments after the meeting, and you can do so by filling out the comment form on our website. You can send us an email at info@interstatebridge.org with CAG and EAG Public Comment. You can also call and leave a message. If you're in Washington, we invite you to call 360-859-0494. In Oregon, 503-897-9218, and toll free at 888-503-6735. As Lynn mentioned, we did receive public comment. That public comment was directly sent to all members of the advisory group prior to our meeting. So with that, I will go ahead and first invite and admit our first caller. It looks like Sharon is in the process of joining, and I have a second. Sharon, are you there?
Yeah, yes, I do.
Hi, can you mute it sounds like maybe YouTube might be playing at the same time. Are you there, Sharon?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Okay. Hi, we would love to hear from you. We can also hear something in the background too. Can you hear us?
Yes, I moved away from the YouTube. I got kicked out of whatever that Zoom 4 times.
Oh, okay. Well, you've joined us now, and I'd love to have you address the advisory group. So if you're ready, how about a couple minutes of comments?
Thank you. I thought it was just personally you. For the record, my name is Sharon Nassett. I am with a 501c3 nonprofit. It is thirdbridgenow.org. Our website is www.thirdbridgenow.org. We are commonly known as the River Crossing 14, the alternative to replacing the bridge. We have 2 community awards. If you are trying to represent our community and you do not know about it and have not seen the awards or other things, you really need to become informed, please. My phone number is 503-283-9585. I know this is public. And my email is sharonnassett@aol.com. There is no way to contact any of you members, even though you are supposed to be representing our group. And I am in the deadline again because it's short windows to leave information. The main point I would like to make today is I've been involved in this in over 25 years. Been on several committees. Community advocate who has, they have never, it was a replacement bridge or a supplemental bridge. A supplemental bridge or a replacement bridge if we need it. In 2006, a full inspection was supposed to be given to the citizens. There are no oversight committees. All of them are steering committees. They have still not produced a full independent inspection of the bridge that it needs to be replaced. In 2010, the oversight independent panel review asked them for a list of the repairs that the bridge needed, what the costs were, and why they had chose on removing the bridge instead of replacing it. Silence. No list. They had never had a formal inspection by an actual bridge company, and to date, they still have not, and cannot prove why the bridges should be removed, when in 2005, the Oregon seal said it had 60 years of life left. Just one moment, please. And they have not ever done a seismic one. In 2010, they said why there was a difference between $50 million from the I-5 partnership and the amounts they're saying now. Never
Thank you, Sharon.
was it a replacement.
We appreciate your comments.
Never was it a replacement. Thank you. I look forward to having phone calls and emails from the public and the them. Thank you. Good day.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you.
Robert, it doesn't look like we have anyone else, but I want to make sure before we transition to the next. Okay, looks like that was our only public commenter. I am really proud to have all members of our leadership team here with us. And as we kick off kind of this next transition into the last part of this meeting, I just wanted to share from my perspective as a member of the facilitation team in Hawaiian, a value and a practice that we like to focus on is called kuleana, and that means responsibility. It means privilege. It means care for our land and care for our community. It's about legacy. And when I think of the work that's been done here over the last 5 years, I'm so proud of each and every member of the community that has said yes the work that we're doing, I believe our grandparents would be proud of and our grandchildren can be proud of. So thank you for all of your participation, for showing up, for responding when we call you, when we ask you to provide your input, and when you join us on our tours and our in-person meetings. I really appreciate each and every one of you. I wanted to provide space for my other facilitators to just share something, and then we will head into an opportunity for our leadership to address these advisory group members. Jonelle, are you interested in sharing? And Dr. Hunt?
Yeah, well, thank you, Lisa, and a big thanks to all of our volunteers, all of our EAG, CVAG, CAG members for being along on this 5-year ride with us, offering of your expertise, your time, your guidance in so many critical times that the program has moved forward. So I'm just so thankful for all of your efforts. And as was said earlier, we would not be here but for your dedication. So just wishing everyone a wonderful holiday. And again, thank you for your service.
Dr. Hunt?
Well, I just want to say, I don't know if you can hear PBS Kids playing in the background, but that's my 5-year-old who joined us for our first meeting when he was 9 months old. So I think about that, and the evolution of what we're doing, and I think we've grown a lot, and I have always thought of Vancouver as like a place nearby, but not a place that I'm connected to. And that's what it's an identity change. And I think that is what this bridge is about as well, is shifting how we think of each other and how we think of our interdependence and linked fate. And so the voices around the table like that, I feel like that's what you all have contributed to in such a big way. And a lot has gone into the team of this, not just the team of like the people working on it, but the many places that people have held this project up, the many levels. So I'm really grateful for this experience. And I see Mr. Washington, and I think about how, like, you're like, this bridge is decades in the making. And you were there in the beginning of it. And it's important to remember that. And also just big thank you to Greg for harmonizing us. And to Janelle for moving something that I haven't seen here before. Yeah.
Thanks, Roberta. Aiden?
Thank you so much. Well, good evening, everyone. I've just got to say, as the Director of Civil Rights and Equity for this program, how critical community engagement and the voices of the community that we're here to serve is. And so from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy days and your lives to share your lived experience with us, to extend into the greater community, to help us really understand all of the components that we need for this program. And I just want you to know that it really has helped shape and form the way we carry forward in our work. And what this bridge and this entire multimodal project is going to look like in the future. We really are building this for the community, by the community. And I just really want to appreciate all of you for taking time out of your days, coming to us, telling us what we need to, what we need to hear when sometimes we're not hearing it, right? Always holding us accountable, and sharing your lived experience with us. So again, thank you so much. And this is not the end. This is just the beginning of the next chapter. So thank you.
Thank you, Aiden. Carly?
Well, it's incredibly humbling to get asked to lead this program and to step into the shoes of Greg Johnson, or attempt to do that as best as I can. And it's especially getting to sit with you folks today and hear the passion and attention and how this bridge has gotten under everybody else's skin, like it's under mine, as a kind of a passion point and as an opportunity for learning is it's wonderful to hear. It's not lost on me on the energy and effort that folks put into this, and a sincere appreciation to that. It's also not lost on me on what you are entrusting to us in going forward. So I really want to note that I hear that. I appreciate the time and energy, and I'm going to do my level best to move this thing forward. And it is not the end; it's the beginning of additional work. But just really appreciate what I got to experience today in sitting with you all. It's lovely to see the energy and the appreciation here. Thank you.
Thank you, Carly. Frank? We can't hear you. Okay. Looks like that was our... I can't hear you now either.
Oh, everybody's gone. What happened? We're done.
Okay, can you hear me? Everyone can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you guys can't hear me still?
There, Frank, we got you.
Yeah, now.
Oh, my internet was bad, so I tried to connect on my phone. That didn't work. Well, I just want to say what everyone's been saying, kind of echo the thanks for time and effort that everyone's put into this. It's been great to get to know everyone through these meetings. Want to echo a little bit of what Lynn already said. Sam, you've said something that we those of us who've been trying to replace this bridge for a long time, the best bridge is the bridge that gets built. Although you said it a little bit differently tonight, but we'll still use, a bridge of any kind is better than no bridge at all, and so we'll definitely heed those that quote. But thank you everyone here for helping us move down the path of getting to build a bridge, and we appreciate all of your time.
Thanks, Frank. Paige?
Yeah, I want to thank you all for your 5 years that you've spent here through COVID and multiple times. I'm always amazed by volunteers like all of you that take the time to speak for your communities. I've learned so much getting to know your personalities and learned some new perspectives. I truly have. And I'm glad you were all here. I hope to see your faces in the future too. We show up at many different forums. I've seen some of you testify in other realms. It's always great to see get that feedback and input. So there's going to be many of opportunities in the future, and hope to see you all some more. And thank you so much.
Thanks, Paige. Ray?
Yeah, good evening. Gosh, yeah, 5 years. A lot of work and a lot of commitment by this team, these groups, the facilitators, to really lean in and literally, I think, push this program to ensure that we are considering the community, its needs, and the direction that you all think is important. You brought tough questions that we needed to answer. Sometimes they were easy for us to answer. Sometimes we had to go back and think about it and bring back answers. It's those tough questions that helped us think more critically and broaden our thinking to address the the topics and the concerns that you raised. And you had to do that by stepping into a space and ask questions that you weren't too sure about. I thank you for doing that. It's really important for you to help this program be the best it can by doing that, and make our whole decision-making process and what we've considered along the way better and more inclusive. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ray. Okay, we're going to wrap up with Greg, and then Lynn and Ed are going to close out the meeting. So it's been an honor to work with you, Greg. Please, the floor is yours.
First off, thank you, Lisa, and thank you everyone for the kind comments. You know, it's been a fantastic 5.5 years. I had promised the two DOT leadership that 3 to 5 that I would give them. It's been 5.5, and you know, I could stay out here. The good friends I've made is just fantastic. I will not be a stranger to this region. When you guys put shovels in the ground or cut ribbons, you'll see me coming back to help you celebrate this project. But I want to thank Lisa, John L., Dr. Hunt, Ed, and Lynn as the leadership and the facilitators for this conversation that we've been having over the last 5.5 years. It is, once again, I've learned a tremendous amount from you all, how to be graceful, how to listen better, all of those things I've learned from you guys. And the members of CAG, you guys, 5 years. I remember that first meeting of EAG when Dr. Hunt's son Paris made his appearance on camera.
Mm-hmm.
It was just when she reminded us that he's now 5 years old, that did put all of this into perspective. So I just a big thank you to you all. What we've done here will be a model, not only for this region going forward in the future for large things that they want to get done, but this will be a model around the country. We've taken this show on the road and told folks about, you know, how we have done and how we have accomplished things, and folks are looking at this as a model of how to get the community support behind a large controversial project. So you guys have done tremendous work, and I do thank you for it. So I hope you are as proud of this work as I am. And I hope this participation has made each and every one of you a more informed community member. So you know how to talk to the leadership of whether it's your city, whether it's your county, whether it's the DOTs, that you have become a more informed community member, and that you will have become an advocate for good transportation investment. So if that's a side benefit of that, that will be absolutely fantastic. But as I walk off, you know, and the team knows that I love my movie quotes and movie scenes. So only thing I could think of as I'm departing from this area at the end of this week was when you guys have all seen the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks. So when Tom Hanks was leaving the island, that's the only scene I could think of. It was tremendously emotional and moving. So just want to tell you how much you have impacted me by your presence, by being a part of this. So my last words that I'll leave you with, and it may have been the first words that I started you off with, was don't let perfect be the enemy of good. There's something that we're doing here that's very, very good. Is it perfect? No, but it is very good. So thank you all for the kind words, and you haven't seen the last of me.
Lynn, and then Ed.
Thank you. And thank you, Greg. It's difficult leading a group that is as disparate as we are and cares so much can sometimes make it even more difficult, but you've done it with style, grace, experience, and a pretty light touch almost all of the time. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, to my fellow volunteers, thank you. It's been a pleasure, an honor. I do feel like we're all better informed and we can all help our community. When I started this project, I accepted this because I couldn't think of anything that would be more important to my community than to help this bridge get built. So I hope in some small way we've all been able to do that. Finally, I ask for time because none of this happens without staff. We have had so many staff provide just outstanding materials, commentary, guidance, answering questions, bringing us up to speed, having office hours. It's just, we couldn't have done really anything that we've done without the help of really a dedicated staff, and CAG was a relatively small amount of their responsibilities, but we all felt like it was the biggest thing in their agenda. So you've done that just professionally, confidently, and with good humor and good spirits, and we value all of that. With that, I would introduce my colleague Ed to close us out. Ed, bring us home.
Thank you, Lynn. Greg, thank you for your comments and your leadership, and thanks Lisa and Lynn and John L. and everybody and all of the committee members. I was thinking, when you get on a committee like this, you really never know what you're going to get. But in the entire time that we have been working together, honestly, I have never been in a meeting and left the meeting upset with any of my fellow members. Not once, not once. And that is unusual, but it just never happened, and I appreciate the fact that we always made it a point to listen to each other. But we never left the meetings and having sad conversations about somebody. This just didn't happen. So thank you all for all of your hard work. But I just want to say to everybody, thank you for really making the 5 years memorable. You forget all the things that we went through over that 5-year period. You really do. But you all just always kept it above board, and you kept coming back. And so I think that's why we'll get a bridge, because we've never stopped building. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll give it back to you, Lynn.
Thank you. And with that, I wish everyone a happy holiday, and however you celebrate this time. It's going to be winter solstice soon, which also means it's going to start getting lighter earlier. So stay safe and remember the love that we all shared for each other as we did this important and difficult work. Thank you all again.
Yeah. Happy holiday to everybody.
Let's get her built.
See y'all soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
To everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.